seeing anything for open for, oh, Beth, go ahead, Beth.
Hi, I just had a small discussion about fees. I don't know how we want to, I know we already talked about the revenue section, so I don't know how, I was just curious about kind of how fees are assessed and where fees go, and if we reduce fees and for what reason we would reduce fees at the town. So I don't know if we want to ask department heads to share that information. Anyone else has questions about fees?
Yeah, we really, a lot of times we don't exactly, delve into the fees. Is there a way that we could ask maybe departments and any committees that are in charge of fee amounts and setting them, just to give us a quick little
I thought somebody put that out.
analysis or something on, when was the last time they were analyzed? Is there wiggle room in there? Things like that.
Yes,
Ray?
we can work on that.
Thank you, Kristen. Ray?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know if you wanted to know now, but I can do it later.
Yeah, I think it's fine if we just get some sort of a, Beth, how about if we just, just some sort of either memo or email or something. Okay, Dennis?
Yeah, I think that, Dan, I'm not, I think you sent something out in one of the earlier documents that actually had the fees for each of the, I know for the schools and a few other things. I mean, do you still have that document available? And you can re-forward that.
Yeah, there's a revenue presentation. So yes, I can send that out too if that helps. And if you have specific questions, we can absolutely look at those too, Beth.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, I think that probably helps. So I think Beth is asking more about like certain fees that maybe there's some leeway, like, and do departments have the departments or boards have just at their discretion to set the amounts, and when is the last time that the fees were analyzed to see how do we compare to market basket towns, that kind of that sort of thing. Okay, I see Beth nodding her head. And Kristen, if you have any questions, you could reach out to either one of us, I guess. Thank you. Okay, anything else for open forum?
No.
Nope. Okay, let's go on to, we're going to review and make recommendations on several articles for annual town meeting. And the first one is Article 1, which is accept town reports. This is usually a pretty benign and sort of standard one. I don't know if somebody wants to say anything about that, or do we just want to move to accept it? Tom, did you have a question on that?
Yeah, I don't think that there's really a finance position to be taken on that. So just my 2 cents on that.
I think we usually, Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, but do we usually make a recommendation on this one?
Yeah, for the past 18 years, you have.
Okay. Okay, so if anyone wants to.
I move that we approve or recommend.
Recommend?
Yes.
Can we get a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor, and I will do a roll call. Ingrid?
Aye.
Beth?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
Shelby?
Aye.
Hari?
Aye.
Dennis?
Aye.
And Tom?
Aye.
Thank you. So that passes. And Article 2 is approve the fiscal year 2023 budget adjustments. Dan, can you give us a?
Sure. I give an overview. If there's any specific questions, we do have department heads here to answer. So first up, we have 75,000 for the fire department to supplement overtime. There's been a lot of work-related injuries there, and we have a couple of firefighters going to the fire academy in the spring. So all that, working with the chief, our projection is that we're going to need about 75,000 to make it through the rest of the year and maintain the 10 staffing per shift. Next up, we have the snow and ice appropriation, which we have every year. We're back to the March meeting, so we're not sure how the rest of the year is going to shake out. So we have the $400,000 appropriation there, which is what we usually put in our financial model. If things change heading up to the March annual town meeting, we could possibly adjust this number as well, just to save a bit of free cash. But regardless, if we don't need it all, it'll just close back to free cash at the end of the year. Next up, we have the recycling expenses for $20,000. I said a couple of weeks ago that we have quite the shortfall on the recycling side, but we're planning on closing out almost the same amount from the solid waste side because of reduced tonnage. So this is to give us a little cushion at year end. And then we're going to ask the select board and FinCom to do a transfer in May or June to plug the gap, basically using that solid waste funds for the recycling funds. And then we have the OPEB contribution of $355,000 to from free cash to bring us up to our scheduled amount for this year. Now, next up, we have enterprise appropriation for water for $135,000. Basically, the prices of chemicals have fluctuated so much this year that they're asking for a supplemental to be able to purchase chemicals. And then for the ambulance enterprise, we're looking for $3,200. This was originally a capital request to put lockers, 4 sets of lockers in the Fletcher Station 1. However, the price was just too much. So the fire department went back, looked at other options, and they were able to find a cheaper option, which now doesn't qualify as a capital item. So we have to supplement their operating budget.
And I'm sorry, did you go over the OPEB or did I miss that?
I did. It's just that we have $1 million coming from the operating budget, and the 355 is to supplement it from free cash just to meet the target for this year.
Okay. I had a couple of questions on that. The additional for OPEB, why, can you just explain why we're doing that?
Sure. So quite a few years ago, the select board had a policy or adopted a policy that we fund the normal costs for anybody hired after January 1st, 2012. So we could fit $1 million within the operating budget. And then the scheduled amount was the $1,355,532. So we want to fund the full amount this year. So to meet that requirement, we're recommending using free cash. So this money isn't being spent, it's just being set aside in a separate account to fund that deficit.
What, so if we take that total 850, whatever that number was, what does that do to our free cash? And the numbers that you presented for free cash, I can't remember if that was last week or when we did the revenue, does that include this?
It does, yep.
Okay.
So let me find that schedule real quick. I'll let you know the balance. Just take a minute to open.
Sure.
All right, so with everything that's in the warrant for free cash purposes, we're looking at having an ending balance of $981,182.
Okay. And I just had one other question on those lockers for the Boston Road Fire Station. Are those replacing existing lockers or are they new lockers? You know?
I can answer. They're new lockers. We have people that rotate when we have specific amount of rooms with lockers, and we have people that rotate throughout the station, so they don't have to take all this stuff and move out for a month. They just put them in that locker. We looked at the same type of furniture, and the vendor was very difficult, and it was around $12,000, and they bumped it up to around 17, which was crazy. So that's why we just went with the plain Uline locker that we're buying. It's just for temporary storage for people that are transient to other stations.
And this is because of additional employees, I guess, since the station was built?
Yeah, we're not out of space, but it's just to provide them space so they have a place to put their belongings. That's basically.
Gotcha.
it.
Okay, thanks, Chief.
Yep.
Heather?
I just wanted to follow up on that free cash thing. I still have a little bit of reservation, dropping our balance to 981. It looks like it was last below $1 million in 2018. But the last couple of years, maybe we've been spoiled, but it was 2.3, 1.4, 2.3. So I'm just a little nervous about that. So I wanted just to express that to everybody.
Anyone else have any questions or comments? Could I get a motion to approve
I'll make a motion to
or
approve.
recommend, sorry.
I'll make a motion to recommend.
Second,
All right, thanks. And all in favor, Tom? Nope, Tom, you muted yourself again.
Aye.
Okay, thanks. Ingrid,
Aye.
Beth,
aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Shelby,
Aye.
Hari,
Aye.
Dennis,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. That passes. Okay, Article 3, appropriate for perchlorate expenses. Dan, are you the,
Yeah, I'm here for this. Eric's not here tonight. He's sick all day. So basically, this is our annual appropriation to combat the perchlorate issue that we've had. We're requesting 97,000. This is a little bit lower than the historical 110,000 that we've had in the past. And this is estimated to get us through the rest of FY24.
so it is, I couldn't remember what our past amount was. So it is lower. It is continuing to go down, to decrease.
Yeah, that's we're still fighting with the DEP to try to relieve the mandates, but they have not lifted that yet. So,
Okay. Has there been any progress on that? Like, do we have any sort of end date in sight?
I haven't heard of any. I know Jody was really working on the way out. Eric might be able to provide some additional recap on that. So I can ask him to send out an email just with that question answered.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have questions? Nope. Okay, can I get a motion to recommend?
Motion to recommend.
Thanks.
Second.
Thank you. And all in favor, Tom,
Aye.
Ingrid,
Aye.
Beth,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Shelby,
Aye.
Hari,
Aye.
and Dennis,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. So that passes. Thank you. Okay, Article 4 is appropriate opioid settlement funds. And Ray, is that you? Or is it Nicole?
Either one.
Okay, I'll let you two decide.
I'm happy to speak to it.
Thanks.
Sure.
Could you just give us a brief like explanation of what exactly that is?
Sure. So as part of the Attorney General's opioid settlement funding, there were several businesses that were required to put up money for opioid overdose education. So there are set limits as to what you can use this funding on. And so we have formed a group with the town manager's office, Nicole, police, fire, schools, to come up with programming that meets those standards to provide the community with opioid overdose education and programming.
Okay, thanks. Anyone have questions? I just had one, or I guess two. For the Neshoba Tech allocations, are the other towns that attend Neshoba Tech, are they also giving money out of their settlement funds?
I am not aware, Dan, unless you know. I don't know if those communities are receiving funding.
Oh, okay.
That's the thing, they had to opt, their select boards had to approve participating in this program, so we don't know if they all did or not.
Okay. And the William James interface, it says, you know, something like 1 year and more or something. Do we know how many years that, I think it was $39,000 will cover?
Right, so we are covered for next year with ARPA funding,
Okay,
and we're covered this year till December. But moving forward, the state's actually rolling out a similar program that will be free to residents. And that's about to roll out soon. So our hope is in the future, we may not need to purchase this kind of a system. But we put it in, you know, at the time we didn't know this. So it's fairly recent, within the last couple of weeks. The Mental Health Collaborative for the Mass Department of Public Health is rolling out a similar system, free to all Massachusetts residents.
but did you say ARPA funding gets us another, like maybe 18 months or?
ARPA funding is covering this year, January, it's calendar year, so it's
Okay.
January to December. Yep.
Gotcha. Okay, so this will be after that. All
Mhm.
right, thanks. That's all I had. Anybody else? Not seeing anything. Could I get a motion to recommend Article
So moved.
4?
So moved.
Thanks, Dennis. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. And all in favor, Tom,
Aye.
Ingrid,
Aye.
Beth,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Shelby,
Aye.
Hari,
Aye.
Dennis,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. That passes. Thanks. Okay. Article 5 is to approve capital appropriations. And I think we went over these at one of our last meetings. Tom, did you have a question on this?
Yeah, I just wanted to get this question out there. I wanted to make sure that if we recommend all of this capital, that it doesn't have an impact on any kind of budget deficit discussion that we have. And you know, the raise and appropriate portions, that doesn't play into that deficit. So any deficit that we might face. So if Dan could just speak to that for me.
Sure, since we're using available funds for all the pay-as-you-go capital, we're not supposed to use those funds for the balance of the budget. So even if we do reduce capital here, it's not going to impact the operating budget. Where we have some borrowing motions further on down in the list here, for the articles that impact the operating budget, they're not going to, we're not going to have a first payment until FY25. So whatever we impact or whatever is recommended at town meeting, it's not going to change the actual operating budget for FY24.
Thank you.
Heather?
Sorry, I'm just still thinking about free cash. When does that get replenished again? Because what I'm wondering is, I mean, we appropriate from free cash some supplemental budgets at some point in the year. And I'm just curious if we'll, you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, so it'll get replenished on July 1st once you know, the Jesse submits the certification to the DOR. So we usually have final approval in September before October special town meeting.
Okay, so it's anticipated that it would grow with some closeouts if we needed something in special town.
Yeah, we do have some identified closeouts that will be occurring. So which is why the balance dropping to just below $1 million isn't that scary at the moment. We know we're going to replenish that.
Dennis?
Yeah, I have a question for Dan. I just want to make sure I heard this right. I thought I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, that once you set the capital budget, you can't take anything out of it. Is that correct?
No, if all these items could be voted on individually at town meetings. So if something doesn't pass, then it just doesn't pass. The appropriation isn't there. So it's not all or nothing.
Okay, so I mean, like, for example, if you were to meet, if you, I think the original question was if you hit a situation where you met a deficit, right? And you were looking for places to get extra cash, and you wanted to get into the capital budget to try to get that cash, you'd have to bring that back for a town meeting vote, or how would you do that?
After the appropriation.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, the select board could not approve a contract or a PO to purchase the capital, I guess, if that was a decision that was made.
okay. All right, so but basically, once it's passed, it's on its way and it's locked in, so I just want
It's
to.
on its way, but it needs to go through the procurement and have the authorization from the board as well.
All right, thank you very much, Dan.
Heather, do you still have a question or? No, okay. So if nobody, I didn't have Dan go through the whole list again because it's pretty long and we did it fairly
Yeah, we don't need
recently. But if we're ready to take a vote, Dan, could you bring up the list just so that everybody's clear and remembers what is on that list and what we're recommending?
Of course.
Thank you.
Remember the whole discussion. 36, 39, 125.
Thanks. Yeah, if you can just kind of slowly scroll through. If anything hits anyone, they need another, if they have a question on just.
I just want to ask real quick, the Stony Brook Bridge replacement project, not that one. Yeah, that one, sorry. That's just to hire the consultants to talk about moving the family, that's one family that's affected, correct? There will then be a additional fee later.
We actually have Steve Cronin out here who could probably speak a little more clearly to this than I could.
I'm here as well, Dan.
Paul's here too. All right, great.
Yeah, Paul Starrett, town engineer. So yes, the Uniform Relocation Act requires the town to relocate a person or individuals that would be impacted by the project. And the problem is that the bridge, the property sits between, respecting their privacy. The property in question is between the Stony Brook Bridge and the railroad trestle. So the ambulance and the fire truck can't respond to that property once the bridge is closed. So the consultant will tell us all the details. And I've been through this document before with all the details that are required to satisfy the Uniform Relocation Act. And then they will give us a price that we can take back to town meeting.
So I'm just going to chime in on my own personal feelings on typical government. I mean, it just seems so crazy. And maybe this falls in that bucket of unfunded rules or mandates governed by the state, but $50,000 to evaluate moving a family just seems so crazy to me. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Right. So the government has a history of doing some pretty inconceivable things to people groups over the history. And so they established the Uniform Relocation Act to protect people's rights when the government's doing a project. And that's the summary I got. So we need to do this, or we need to not do the bridge.
I get it. I just, it's just a lot of money for a consultant.
So that's what we're asking for. That's not what we'll put out an RFP. We've never done this before, so we need it to be conservative. But if someone can do it for 25,000, that's all they're going to get paid.
And how long do you think these people are going to be out of their house? Do you think?
We're hopeful it'll be under 2 months, but that's a very ideal condition. There's a lot of moving parts to it. So.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Paul. Why don't we just sort of scroll through, and then if anyone else has anything, otherwise we'll call for a vote.
can I just get a total on that senior center? I know this is not all of it, but I'm just, what we end up spending in total on the HVAC there with this and the ARPA and other appropriations.
Sure. Last June, we appropriated 1.1 million as a bond authorization. The select board have appropriated 500,000 from ARPA, and we have an additional $300,000 from the state from their ARPA fund. So we have 1.9 already appropriated.
You lost me on the state money. So it would be 3.9 plus money from state?
No, so the 1.9 million that we already have appropriated includes the 300 from the state.
Okay, thanks.
It'd be 1.9 plus the 2 here.
Francis Hill.
Was the Cameron HVAC a separate article at one point?
We had a placeholder in the capital plan since the beginning. I feel like since we first came out with the straw person,
Right.
so we weren't sure what the amount would be that we were seeking to supplement it. So we did just have it under capital rather than a separate article.
Okay. So my only, well, all right, let's keep scrolling.
All right, and we have the Francis Hill water storage tank of $1,045,000, and then the culvert replacements of 1.5 million to end article.
Okay.
So, and just a note on the cashing down here, the last time the capital planning committee met, they did not have the information on the senior center supplemental.
Right. I think several of the board members were at the select board meeting this past Tuesday to hear the Cameron update. So I'll ask for a motion to recommend all of this, but I'll also entertain if somebody, let me say it this way. Are we ready to recommend the entire article? Or do we want to break this out at all? I'm going to take that to mean that we will vote this as the whole article. So Ingrid?
I'll move to recommend the
Okay.
entire.
And can I get a second?
Second.
All right, thanks, Beth. So all in favor, Tom?
Aye.
Ingrid?
Aye.
Beth?
Aye.
Sorry, my screen is moving on me. Beth? Heather?
Aye.
Shelby?
Aye.
Hari?
Aye.
Dennis?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. So that passes. Okay. So
Christina,
articles,
before you move
Yep.
on, can I just real quickly, Dan, the language there where it says the approval, it makes it seem like FinCom approved everything but the one, and it leaves it a little vague as to why, almost like they approved everything and they didn't approve the one. So I wonder if it could just have maybe a word or two added saying, you know, unavailable at the time or something like that.
Sure, I think that makes sense. Thank you.
thanks, Heather. Okay, so yeah, Article 6, appropriate funding for the construction of a new municipal building located at 51 Main Street. And Tom Mahana, I assume you are here for that.
Sure. Thank you, Christina.
Thanks.
So we provided earlier today to Dan and Kristen an update on the budget for 51 Main. So the last, just for everybody's understanding, the last time we did a cost estimate update was in September 2022. So that was in anticipation of the special town meeting. So we asked our consultant to provide an update because the design has progressed since that time, even though the article was dismissed at October town meeting. The design has progressed, and we've essentially completed the design development phase. So we asked our consultant and their independent cost estimator to provide an estimate, an update on where we think we are. So we just received that the other day. So we summarized this. I think you guys probably got it today in your packet. But a couple of differences. So we did see, a slight increase in construction costs as we anticipated we would see. However, we were able to reduce some of our contingencies and our escalation that we had carried, or the amounts that we had carried in the previous one. And that's again because we have taken the design far enough along that we feel we can be a little bit more accurate with our estimates. So we reduced our design contingency, we reduced our cost escalation. So we're still escalating costs out to the summer of 2023, which means that that's when we're anticipating bidding the project should it move forward. So overall, we're now recommending the budget be increased to 12.4 million, which is about 3.5%, I think, or so increase from the previous budget that we had provided. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Heather?
Sorry, that my hand was just up from before, but I'm going to be voting against this. I have always said the same reasons, and I don't have them all in front of me tonight, but because there's a couple new people on, I'm really curious to see what the school committee comes out with next month for their space before we take this on. We've approved a meeting room that's fairly large across the street, and with the timing of the inflation and rising interest rates, I just don't think it's a good idea. That said, I do know that IT needs some work on their building or some kind of improvement. But again, I go back to what's the school committee going to come out and say about their feasibility study?
Okay, thanks, Heather. Anyone else have questions or comments? Tom?
I think that the increase in price is basically in line with what we were saying back at the special town meeting that we were going to face by pushing it down. And I think that we're going to continue to see that price go up the longer we push it off. The departments that we're talking about definitely they need adequate space. Those of you who don't know, I worked in the IT department for many years, and it was an inadequate space 10 years ago. So this is something that's needed. The other thing is that while yes, there's the meeting room in the library, one of the interesting things that I've come to learn is that space is open to everyone in the public. So it may become more difficult to try to schedule board committee meetings there. And then I never really realized how small the meeting room in town hall is until I was there on Tuesday night. I forgot really how tight it was, and it wasn't even a contentious meeting or anything like that. But it still felt very tight. So I would definitely support this as a way forward for many different reasons.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Ingrid?
So I have to say, and for those that have been on the board for a long time, I'm with Heather on the sense that I am concerned that in a short time, the school department will have their recommendations, and that the town is then faced with one vote for the town hall and then perhaps 6 months later, votes for the school department administration. And I just feel like we need to look at it as one whole project almost, and present it together to the town. I also know that both the IT department and facilities department are shared with the schools, so that there's some synergies there if they were housed together.
That makes sense.
Thanks, Ingrid. Anybody else? Okay, could I get a motion to approve or motion to recommend? Why do I keep saying that? Motion to recommend.
So moved.
In a second.
I will second it.
Okay, thanks. All in favor? Tom,
Aye.
Ingrid,
No,
Beth,
Aye.
Heather,
No,
Shelby,
Aye.
Hari. Was that an aye, Hari?
Yes.
Okay, Dennis
Nay.
and me. Okay. Aye. So that was 1, 2, 4 to 3.
Yep.
Okay. So it passes. Thanks. Tom, one last question. When is some information going to be presented to the public on this?
I believe it should be shortly. We worked on, in collaboration with members of the select board, we worked on a presentation and a video with Westford Cat. And I believe that's pretty close to finalized. I don't know, Kristen, would you happen to know?
I can offer a few comments. I do know that we are working to finalize some documents. I would expect it out in the next week or two.
Okay.
And there'll be a video, there'll be a frequently asked questions page, there'll be updated cost estimate, updated presentation slides.
Jesse, did you have something on this?
Yeah, Christina, can I just clarify for the minutes? I have 5 to 3. There's 8 members present, isn't
Oh,
there?
okay. I may have counted wrong. So I believe Ingrid, Heather, and Dennis were nay, and the rest of us were aye. Is that correct? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're right. You're right. Yep. Thank you. So as far as information to the town, I guess I know you're working as quickly as you can. I would suggest as soon as possible to start getting this information out there. Because I'm not so I'm just not so sure that people realize it's coming back or what they know. Okay.
Thank you.
Jesse, did you have anything else, or is your hand just still up? No, no problem. All right, so let's move on to Article 7. Appropriate funding for the Lloyd G. Blanchard MSBA roof replacement. And Dan, what's the total amount on this? Could we just get a quick briefing on this?
Sure. So this is participating in the MSBA program with the state, where they're going to reimburse us 48.05% of the total cost. We do have Jeff Goodwin here with any specific building related questions. However, I'm just bringing up the memo real quick. Might share my screen for a second just so I can display the costs. Here we go. And share. Now zoom in. So overall, the state is kicking in the $2,940,000, which they're reimbursing us on all of the costs associated with the project. And So the total project is 6.425. So the difference there is 3.485 million. So this is, we earmarked for our debt exclusion. So it requires a 2/3 vote at the annual town meeting plus a majority vote at the ballot.
Any questions on this, Tom?
Yeah, I just don't have all the numbers in front of me. Do we have to appropriate the full amount and then get the money back, and then that goes into free cash or gets applied to the debt later on? I just want to make sure we're all clear on that.
Yeah, it gets applied to the debt. So we're not going to borrow for this project until we're done. And so we'll take the net proceeds from the MSBA and borrow the smaller just under 3.5 million.
Thank you.
But Dan, the motion is for the full amount?
Yes, that's how,
Yeah.
this is language that the
That's how you-
MSBA requires to show the full
Right.
cost of the project.
Okay. Dennis?
Yeah, Dan, if you can, I think, I try to keep things compartmentalized a little bit, but now we're starting to run up the ladder with these capital expenses a bit. And I was wondering what you can tell us, if anything, about the anticipated school department building or it sounds like a building that's being proposed. Can you give us any idea what the scale is or what, just kind of a ballpark of how much potential investment we're going to be looking at with that?
I haven't seen the report yet, Dennis, so I'm not sure I can answer that at this point.
Okay.
So they'll be letting us know when they do have information.
The school committee was talking about their feasibility study coming back, I want to say next month, maybe March. So they still haven't gotten that information back. Hari?
Yeah, so I would expect capital projects or big projects go under debt exclusion, but repairs and enhancements to existing buildings should be part of the regular capital budget. Can somebody provide me more information about why this is going under debt exclusion?
I would consider it a large project, over $3 million. So, historically, we have had debt exclusions for projects of this size. So, and especially when it's competing against projects that we already borrowed within the levy limit, such as the Oak Hill, Plain Road and More infrastructure project, and the Cameron Senior Center as well.
So in essence, we are spending more money on the capital than we anticipated, including debt exclusion.
Sorry, I didn't catch that, Hari.
Meaning, so the reason why we are going to debt exclusion is because the normal allocation for capital budget is not enough to support the capital projects, correct?
Correct, and this was a planned project to bring forward as a debt exclusion as well.
Okay, so this project's intent was part of the debt exclusion right from the beginning.
Yeah, and in the October special town meeting, we actually included the projection for this within all the charts we were showing for the expected future excluded debt. So this is replacing debt that's falling off as well.
Okay, Tom?
Yeah, I just want to circle back real quick to the school assessment. My understanding is not that they're going to be looking for a new building, but rather they're also looking at their existing buildings and the space used. And the idea of possibly moving their administrative buildings into an existing building. So it's not, as far as I understand, it's not a foregone conclusion that we're looking at an additional building. We may be looking at some capital for, outfitting a new building and making modifications, but no one has said that's a definite new building at this time. So.
Thank you.
True, and actually, I just got some information from a school committee member that said that their draft report is due sometime in March, and then the final report is in May. So that's when they're looking at getting that information. Ingrid?
So I'm gonna bring it back to the roof. You know, I just know that this is really important that we get this funded, and just, it's, once you're accepted in the MSBA program, I mean, they vet this all out, so they won't fund things that, you know, are frivolous or unnecessary, so, you know, it's rare to get projects where we get almost 50% of the money paid for by the state, so I support this.
Thanks, Ingrid. I do too. I had a question, possibly for Jeff. Jeff, I believe we haven't included in here the potential replacement of the HVAC system. Wasn't that discussed because we'd have to be taking the units off the roof and, you know, am I correct in assuming that that's not part of this yet?
That is correct. The construction project itself is going to be taking place during the summer of 2024. And yes, I'm currently working on putting together a scope to replace the HVAC rooftop units as well as the ventilation hoods that are on the roof. So the MSBA is going to reimburse to remove those units from the roof as part of the construction project. And that includes reimbursement for replace or putting them back on the roof. So the thought is there that if we can play our cards right and have the right equipment to put back on the roof when the roof is complete, we might be able to get some of that labor reimbursed. So all of the HVAC units on the roof of Blanchard currently are at 30 years old. So they're at the end of their functioning life. So it makes good sense to explore this. So that'll be a number that I'll bring to next year's capital.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else have any questions? Could I get a motion to recommend Article 7?
Motion to recommend Article 7.
Second.
Thank you. And all in favor, Tom?
Aye.
Ingrid?
Aye.
Beth?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
Shelby?
Aye.
Hari?
Aye.
Dennis?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. So that passes. And Article 8, approve Community Preservation Committee recommendations. Marilyn, that is you, right?
So I've taken the liberty of writing mine out so I won't get confused. In my 22 years on CPA, I have never seen this number of applications. So we have 12 before you. And I've tried to very quickly summarize them so you would be familiar with what we're asking for the money for.
Thank you.
First, I'd like to say that our committee has 9 members, and the committee voted unanimously to support all of the following actions and projects for this year's CPC recommendations. There was no dissent in any of them. So $311,545 from the undesignated fund balance to the community housing reserve. This allocation more than funds the required 10% for community housing. $190,000 from the undesignated fund balance for the Conservation Trust Fund for future open space land purchases and any other related costs. The Conservation Trust Fund provides resources for conservation land acquisition and maintenance. It is administered by the Conservation Commission and over the years has played a crucial role in the purchase of hundreds of acres of open space land. Its use, in addition to covering the cost of the land, has been for appraisal, surveys, title searches, and other legal costs of land acquisition. The advantage of these funds is that the commission can act quickly without having to wait for town meeting approval. It also does joint ventures with Westford Land Preservation Foundation and with the Westford Conservation Trust. In 2018, the town approved the purchase of the 47-acre Adams parcel using $500,000 from the trust and borrowing $4.5 million of CPA funds. $312,000 from the fund balance reserved for community housing to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund for the development of potential affordable housing projects and other related costs. The Affordable Housing Trust needs to be prepared to act in an expedient manner to further its mission. These funds are being requested to support investigation, feasibility, and pre-development costs for several potential sites to facilitate developers in obtaining any number of loans or grants from the state and federal government for the design and construction of affordable additional housing units along with workforce housing. These funds in hand allow the Affordable Housing Trust to act quickly without the need for an out-of-cycle special request to the CPC. $133,500 from the undesignated fund balance for the Stony Brook Track and Athletic Courts Design Project and any other related costs. The Stony Brook Athletic Courts and Track is an active recreation area utilized by not only the Westford Public School Athletic Department, but also local recreation groups and the public at large. Amenities at this location include a running track with a grass soccer football field, as well as 5 tennis courts and 2 basketball courts. The requested design funding will allow the facilities department to access the existing footprint for these amenities and determine how to reconstruct them in a way that best serves the current and future outdoor recreation needs for the community. $400,000 from the undesignated fund balance for the Jack Walsh Tennis and Basketball Court Improvements Construction Project and any other related costs. Jack Walsh is an extremely active recreation area located on Carlisle Road in 225. This facility plays an important role in the overall recreational infrastructure and functions as the primary public outdoor recreation facility within the southeast areas of town. Amenities at this location include several acres of grass sports fields, 2 tennis courts, a full basketball court, a playground, and 2 gravel parking areas. In addition to being heavily used by residents in the southeast sections of town, youth and adult sports organizations townwide utilize them. These courts were closed because of deterioration in 2018. Design for this project was then funded by an appropriation of $41,425 from the CPC that was approved at the annual town meeting in 2022. When approved, this project will result in full reconstruction. $25,000 from the undesignated fund balance for the Forge VFW softball field dugouts project and any other related costs. The Forge VFW facility is located on West Prescott Street and includes a 90-foot baseball diamond, a softball field with night lighting, a full-size basketball court, a skate park, swings, and 2 horseshoe pits. It is heavily utilized from April through early November. It is currently the only softball field in town that has lights. Dugouts are an important component of the baseball field. They play a critical role in keeping the players safely separated from the field and protected from foul balls, wild pitches, sun and rain. They also provide needed separation between players and fans during play. $180,000 from the undesignated fund balance for the Forge Beach and Ronan McGillicuddy Memorial Playground, sunshade structures, and any other related costs. The project proposes to install freestanding shade systems to protect playground users from heat and UV rays. The shade canopies will be removed seasonally and during extreme weather events and stored at the Department of Public Works. These are 2 ADA accessible playgrounds. The Forge Beach Playground is located at Forge Beach, and the Ronan McGillicuddy Memorial Playground is located at Edwards Beach in the Nabnasset section of town. $45,000 from the undesignated fund balance for the Parkable Schoolhouse Window Restoration Project and any other related costs. The proposed project is intended to fully restore the windows and improve the function of not only the original windows, but the existing storm windows as well. The scope of work also includes adding new weather stripping to the back door. $3,000 from the historic fund balance for the antique snow roller restoration project located at 24 Boston Road and any other related costs. The snow roller is an interesting piece of transportation history. Typically, oxen pulled the rollers, but horses were also used. The roller would pack down the snow on the roads so that the horses and sleighs could travel over them. And through the efforts of motivated people, the Historical Society was able to obtain and resettle this snow roller to the Historical Society grounds. These funds will provide restoration of the snow roller and the building of a 3-sided shelter for the roller with an opening facing Boston Road. The structure will protect the roller and create an outdoor exhibit. $75,000 from the undesignated fund balance for the Meadowbrook Farm well project. Meadowbrook Farm, with surrounding properties owned by the town of Westford and leased to the farm, is a working farm. This well will provide the farm needed water to provide for crops and farm animals. Meadowbrook Farm was formed in 1999 by special town meeting and special town election. This is a 1750 working farm that has been preserved by the town with a permanent conservation restriction in place. $90,354 from the undesignated fund balance for the Meadowbrook Farm Food Insecurity and Sustainability Project and any other related costs. Meadowbrook Farm is an 84-acre farm in Westford, Mass. In partnership with the town. The project is designed and planned to help with food insecurity in Westford. Currently, there is a farm field which would be able to produce 100,000 pounds of vegetable and fruit if it were irrigated and fenced. The project would consist of roadway and parking for 15 cars, fencing, irrigation, and a shed for farm materials and supplies. And lastly, the second motion, that the town appropriate the sum of $1 million from the Community Preservation Fund for the planning, design, development, and construction of a 35-unit mixed income senior affordable housing project located at 35 Town Farm Road. This funding request is from Choice Incorporated and the Chelmsford Housing Authority. This is an adaptive reuse of a portion of the Town Farm Road property and new construction into a 35 mixed income unit senior housing development. The property will also include a food bank. This additional money is needed for the increased costs and the rise in interest rates. The $3 million of local funds will be matched with over 18 million from other state and federal resources. I hope that wasn't too much, but it was more than I could remember.
Thank you, Marilyn. Does anyone have questions on any of those? Heather?
I just wanted to clarify the Jack Walsh, that's the construction, not the design, correct?
Do I have Jeff here? Jeff, where are you? Let me see what I have written down.
I thought in your narrative you said there was 40 for the design already, but in the list I'm looking at, it says.
I had for the Jack Walsh tennis and basketball court improvements construction project. That's all that I wrote down.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it is only for the design. I'm pretty sure.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't think it's possible to build it for that.
Jeff, do you have more information on that or no?
Actually, for Jack Walsh, that would be Steve Cronin's project.
So I apologize. Mixed you two up, but I'm pretty positive it's only the design.
Okay, Steve?
Yep, thank you. No, so we already have an appropriation for design. The 400,000 is for construction of the Jack.
It is, and I'm wrong. Okay. So it's the other project that is the design.
Okay.
And can I ask one more? Or do you
Go
want
ahead,
me-
Heather. Nope.
The Affordable Housing Trust that is requesting being 312,000 being moved into it. What is the balance of that trust fund?
I want to say 600,000, but I can't say for sure. I don't have that in front of me. I don't know that we know that. Jesse, I don't think we have that money, where we have.
Yeah, it is about 600,000. We're gonna be making a payment on, I think they're doing 300,000 for the, for this, I'm sorry, I'm
Helena
getting the
Crocker.
name confused. I think it's the Helena Crocker project that they're coming forward in the next month. So I think the balance will be cut in half to about 300,000 right now.
Dennis?
Yeah, thank you. Marilyn, can you just answer the question? That $180,000 that's been, it's going to be designated for the Forge Beach and the Rona McGilliard playground. Is any of that money available to dredge the actual beach, the area underneath the, the ground bottom of the beach to get the rocks and some of the rough items?
That's not part of the application.
All right.
It's only the shade umbrellas, that's that particular to.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
You all set, Dennis?
Yeah.
Okay, Beth?
I was just wondering the community housing reserve, how that's different than the affordable housing trust? And is the community housing reserve for an existing project, or is that just?
You're saying the trust, Beth?
The community housing reserve.
What's the reserve?
Required.
I
for
can answer that, Beth.
10%.
So basically.
I'm just trying to understand the difference between those two.
Maybe
Yeah,
just.
the community housing reserve is just a fund balance. So within the CPA, we have 4 fund balance, the undesignated funds, which can be spent for anything. The historic resources, which are obviously for historic projects. The what you just mentioned, the affordable housing, which would be projects that the committee could set aside for those specific items. When we make this transfer, it goes out of the CPA fund into the Affordable Housing Trust, which then puts that money under the trust jurisdiction, not the community preservation. Does
So
that
the
make sense,
community
hopefully?
housing reserve is.
It's just the fund balance. It's just a designation within the community preservation fund.
Oh, okay, to be used in future for other projects. Got it.
Exactly, for future affordable projects.
Got it. Thank you.
Marilyn, I had a question on the second motion, the $1 million for 35 Town Farm Road.
Yep.
Correct me if I'm wrong, or did the community preservation allocated $1 million previously? Is that correct?
More than that, which Jesse, wasn't it 2 million or 3 million total from us? 1 million of which they haven't asked for yet, which would happen in another year or two.
So yeah, the previous appropriation was for $2 million. 1 million was funded with essentially cash on hand. None of the 2 million has been spent yet, but 1 million was funded with cash on hand, and then 1 million was appropriated for bonding. So this would essentially increase the bonding amount to $2 million. Whether that actually happens will be determined in future years. We may be able to use the historic resources fund balance to pay that debt down as we go along. This project, I don't think is going to kick off until FY 25 or early 26. So we have a little bit of time to essentially bank some of those funds, and we may not even end up having to borrow them. But that would be a decision at town meeting, probably in FY 25 or 26. They'd have to come back to what would happen is we would rescind the debt, and then town meeting could decide if they could just use the essentially the cash balance that the community preservation has on hand.
So that would be like 3 million total that we will eventually give them if we give them all of this.
Okay, so I think that was my question, was what was the total?
Instead of 2, it will become 3, but it's
So they are asking for an additional million.
because of
then-
interest rate, yeah, because of interest rates and because of costs.
Okay, and do you have any idea if the federal portion is increasing?
Well, no, I just know that they had said how much money that they would be getting in, let me see what I wrote down, I'm sorry.
I think you said 18 million or something like that.
It was an enormous amount of money. Yeah, $3 million with a match over 18 million from state and federal resources. So that's quite a match. You know, 3 to 18. I'll take that anyway.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else have any other questions on this before I ask for a motion? Heather.
Sorry, just real quickly, I missed it. Where did you say Meadowbrook Farm was?
Jesse, how do we describe what the road is?
So it's off Route 40.
Is that the
what
one
is
in
it, like, kind of
off
like on the
Gould
corner
Road?
of North Street there?
As you go into Groton.
It's
I
a
think
good
it's Gould
picking.
Road.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks.
Anybody else? Okay, could I get a motion to recommend Article 8? Oh, Heather, do you have something else?
I'm sorry, now that I know where it is, isn't that privately owned?
No. When you
It's
say
owned-
privately, it was leased for what, Jesse, 99 years? I mean, it was a long lease.
So I don't know the specifics. I believe the select board controls some of that, the conservation controls some of that, and I
Right,
think
there
some of the-
are some constrictions, but all of the entities will work through, if this is passed, how they can do the road, how they can do the fencing, where they can do it. Pieces definitely affected by Conservation Commission and the other piece by the select board.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Anything else, or could I get a motion to recommend Article 8?
So moved.
Thanks, Tom.
Second.
Thanks, Ingrid. All in favor, Tom,
Aye.
Ingrid,
Aye.
Beth,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Shelby,
Aye.
Hari,
Aye.
Dennis,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. That passes. Thanks. Okay. Article 9 is amend the wage and classification plan. Oh, sorry, Marilyn. Yep.
That include the second motion?
Yeah, so we voted for the whole, everything. Yep,
Thank you.
the entire
Thank
article.
you very much, everybody. Thank you. I
You're
appreciate
welcome. Thank you. So Article 9, amend the wage and classification plan. Dan, can you just quickly speak to this, or is somebody?
Sure, we don't have any recommended changes for town meetings, but for our recommendation to discuss.
Okay. So could I get a recommendation to dismiss this article? A motion?
Vote to recommend dismissing Article 9.
Thanks, Beth.
Second.
A second.
Motion. Did I say vote? I meant motion.
Yeah, it's okay. I think we're good. Okay, so all those in favor of the recommend to dismiss Article 9, Tom,
Aye.
Ingrid,
Aye.
Beth,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Shelby,
Aye.
Hari,
Aye.
Dennis,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. So that passes. Article 10, authorize revolving funds. I know most of these are just kind of a reissuance year after year, correct, Dan? But I think there's a couple that are increasing.
That's right. We have 2 that requested increase. The first is school transportation. It was at 800,000, and the schools are requested to go up to 950. They do have a new bus contract out there, so they're a little uncertain if they need the extra capacity or not. So they did request that just in case. And then with the immunizations and clinical services, that was at 75,000 for this year. They're requesting an increase to 100,000. It's because they can be offering COVID vaccines next year as well. So they need the extra spending capacity because they're quite expensive.
Okay. Anybody have questions on those? Could I get a motion to recommend Article 10?
So moved.
Thanks.
Second.
Thanks. And all in favor, Tom,
Aye.
Ingrid,
Aye.
Beth,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Shelby,
Aye.
Kari,
Aye.
Dennis,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. So that passes. Okay, Article 12, appropriate Chapter 90 local transportation funds for roadway maintenance. This is another one of those that we do every year. So I don't know, does anyone have any questions on those, on that one? Okay, I'm not seeing anything. So can I get a motion to recommend Article 12?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thanks. All in favor, Tom,
Aye.
Ingrid,
Aye.
Beth? Beth.
Aye.
Thanks. Heather,
Aye.
Shelby,
Aye.
Hari,
Aye.
Dennis,
Aye.
and I'm an aye, so that passes. Thanks. Okay, Article 13, appropriate funds from water enterprise, other post-employment benefits, stabilization fund to the water enterprise. Anybody have questions on this? Not seeing anything, and if I'm not mistaken, this is, we do this one on an annual basis as well, so it's kind of a standard article. Dan's nodding his head, yes? Okay. So could I get a motion to recommend Article 13?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thanks. All in favor, Tom,
Aye.
Ingrid,
Aye.
Beth,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Shelby,
Aye.
Kari,
Aye.
Dennis,
Aye.
and I'm an aye, so that passes as well. Okay, so we are through the articles. And our 8:45 agenda item is the town manager recommended changes to the FY24 operating budget. Dan, is that you or Kristen, do you want to go through that?
I'll open it up, but I will defer to Dan to give the specifics. Based upon the input that we received over the 4 public hearings of the fiscal 24 budget, we took your comments and suggestions under consideration and went back, and as well as the select board's comments and consideration, and went back to refine some of the budget numbers. In addition, Dan has done some additional refinement of anticipated revenue to come to another number. So I will let him go through the details of the suggested changes to the budget, and either of us are happy to answer any questions.
Thanks.
We have reviewed most of these at prior meetings, so I just want to touch on quickly here. For the public safety radio upgrade, we did have a debt payment scheduled for almost 127,000. However, the select board did vote to appropriate ARPA funding for the entire project, so we no longer have to borrow for that. So it freed up some capacity. The Neshoba Tech assessment did increase from what we originally had projected in December by 32,000. So that took away some of our budget capacity. And then with the Kristen coming as new town manager, we adjusted the salary to meet what was due in FY24. So we reduced, let's see, 5,000 for there to add to the training expense line, and then we just reduced 5,000 to give back the overall budget surplus as well. And then this week, we're past a couple weeks, we were working with Tim Wickham, the operations administrator for the dispatch center, and Chief Targ and Chief Chambers, coming up with rationale for adding the 12th dispatcher. We came to a conclusion that we think adding the 12th will fulfill the schedule, the way the dispatch center is supposed to be run. We think between the grant they're getting for 83,000 plus the leftover overtime of 43,000, they should have plenty to cover the necessary overtime shifts to cover any vacancies or scheduled time off. And we think overall it'll be a better situation for the dispatchers who will very rarely have to be called in anymore to cover shifts for somebody who's out. So
That's good.
we think it's overall just a good idea to do this. And, you know, if it's not working out, it's very low risk change here where, you know, we do have turnover in this department quite frequently. So if it doesn't work for some reason, we can always come back and revisit this as well. But overall, it's bottom line, it does not impact the operating budget. There's no changes to it. Then on the revenue side, during the revenue presentation 2 weeks ago, I did mention that we have higher than anticipated revenues for investment income and the hotel excise tax, but we were lagging a little bit behind on the fees. So overall, we're able to increase the local revenue projection by 132,500. And currently we have excess capacity at this time of 232,697. So with that being said, we don't have the state aid yet, which is scheduled to be released on March 1st, possibly sooner if the governor has the ability to release it. She said she would. So we're just waiting on that this time.
Thanks for that update, Dan and Kristen. I had a question. It's a little bit more on the dispatcher. And could you tell me, Dan, I don't know if you know this, but what's the salary range for this type of position?
Sure. It's starting with all the total pay at about 49,000.
Okay. So this is the lower end of that range, correct?
This is a step one. Yep.
Okay. So I guess that kind of goes to how confident we are that this would be budget neutral. Like if somebody should come in at a higher, then there's a little bit of risk there, correct?
Yeah, there could be a little bit of fluctuation if we do hire a dispatcher with experience. However, it's usually easier to train dispatchers with the experience too. So it's usually minor trade-off, probably a few $1,000s.
Yeah.
At most.
Okay. And you had closeouts listed on there, and I just wasn't sure. Is that how much money in those fiscal years this department has closed out to the general fund at the end of the year? Is that what that was telling us?
Yes, and that's one other reason why we think this shouldn't be have any budget impact, because there has been such a lot of turnover
Gotcha.
in past years. So we've been closing out between $70,000 and $80,000 per year for 4 years in a row.
Okay. And how does the person's benefits get covered? I know you had the line listed there. I just wasn't quite sure how that plays in.
So it's covered through the 940 or actually 990 health insurance budget now. So they pay their share of the health insurance into the trust, and whatever expenses they incur are covered by the trust. So based in the past, it's been a 65-35 split. So, and it depends on what kind of plan they have. So when we hire a new employee, we usually have a standard set amount of 15,000. I can say that only 58% of our employees are on the town's health insurance. There's a chance that cost will never be incurred.
But the 15,000 that you're estimating for benefits gets covered with the operating funds also, right? Correct. So
yeah. So I mean, there's other costs such as like a $13 a year for the town's life insurance policy. Medicare is a minor cost overall, and then Middlesex retirement assessment, when we are reassessed, that will be added to the rolls.
Okay. All right, thanks. Anyone else have questions on this update? Obviously, we're going to discuss it further after the governor's budget is released to figure out what to do with this $232,000. Heather?
I just wanted to say that I really appreciate that lead in saying that you've listened to FinCom and heard some of our concerns and questions throughout the time.
Yes, I will second that. Thank you. Okay, so if there's no more questions on the operating budget update, we'll go on to approving our minutes from our February 2nd meeting. Did everyone have a chance to look those over? Is there any comments on them? Okay, no. Could I get a motion to approve our February 2nd, 2023 minutes?
Motion to approve.
Thanks. In a second.
Second.
Thanks. All in favor, Tom?
Aye.
Ingrid?
Aye.
Beth?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
Shelby?
Aye.
Hari? Hari? minutes?
Yeah, sorry, I'm here. Aye.
Okay, Dennis?
I,
And I'm an I, so that passes. I'm gonna skip over the 905 board and committee updates. And okay, anything under old business? Does anyone have anything we need to discuss? I'm gonna take this opportunity just to mention the finance committee book. Dan sent out the I'll call it a template a couple days ago, I think, for us to each work on our sections. Dan is asking for that to be returned on February 27th so that he has time to pull everything together and then probably re-edit it a couple days later when the governor's budget is released, and so that we can get it out to the town on the 13th, 15th of March. When do we have to have that out?
Actually, the 10th that we need to have it posted online and have some
Oh.
copies printed in select locations.
Okay, so it even tighter. Yep. Okay,
Yeah.
so the 10th. So February 27th is, 11 days away. Am I doing that math right? If anybody needs any help, please reach out to update the, if you need help updating those sections or you have a question or whatever. So next, future meetings. So we have several listed here. March 2nd, there's a possibility that that one will get canceled because we got through everything tonight, at least all of our articles. The only thing left, and Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, is the article on the overall FY24 budget. And that may or may not be ready to vote on March 2nd. In fact, I would hazard a guess that it will not be ready by March 2nd. But we'll send out an email once we definitely know whether we're going to have that meeting or not. Once the governor's budget is released, it's not listed here, but tentatively I would pencil in March 6th for another meeting. And that will be with the select board and the school committee to finalize the FY24 budget. I think the other thing, one more thing, Heather, and then I'll, so we were also asked at the March 14th meeting for the select board, they're going to be going over the Cameron HVAC once the bids come back in. And they asked if we wanted to be posted there as well. And we are going to be, I said yes. So we're going to be posted at the March 14th select board meeting when they get this is the bids for Cameron. That $2 million was a placeholder. That was an estimate. And I think that's it. Heather.
So would the 3-6 meeting be where we get the word from the schools on what they're going to use as their final number?
The idea would be on the 6th, we will finalize the budget, and yes.
Okay.
Ingrid?
So the 6th, that's a Monday.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Anything else? Kristen and Dan, did I cover everything, or is there anything else that Finance Committee needs to be aware of? There's a lot of balls in the air right now, so it's all a little fluid.
I think you covered it all, and well, I can tell.
Okay. Okay.
Yep, I would just remind you all that the select board did confirm that town meeting is on Saturday, March 25th, starting at 10 a.m. There had been some confusion, 9 versus 10, but it will be starting at 10 a.m.
Okay, thank you for that. So Ingrid, do you have something else? Or nope, Heather, or?
Yeah, I'm just curious for the HVAC, would somebody amend that on the floor of the meeting then?
So
I was actually.
I'm sorry, we have to, on the capital article, we have to list the $2 million, but yes, that could be amended on town meeting floor if it came in less.
I suppose we could open that back up for debate if we needed to as well. Okay, so I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Go on,
All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Right.